All right, take your Bibles and turn to Genesis chapter 32. We're going to go through, it's going to be a very simple story that you already know. One of the richest stories in the Old Testament is the story of Jacob. Whenever he was at Jabbok, probably there's, in the Old Testament, if you try to think of all the stories that you could teach on forever, that you could just keep pulling stuff from. It'd be, Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, the calling of Abraham, the sacrifice of Isaac, but Jacob would be one of those. In verse 22, it says, "And he arose that night and crossed over the ford of Jabbok." In verse 24, it says, "Jacob was left alone." Now, this is going to be the first time in the Bible that we read of anybody seeing the face of God. It's also the story of the origin of the name Israel. Now, this is a mysterious story. It's a mysterious thing. There is a million different directions you could take this in. We're going to focus on one of those. Now, we need to be reminded of the story, so I just kind of hit at it. We got three patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abraham fathered Isaac, Isaac fathered Jacob. Now, Jacob is a twin. He has a brother named Esau. Esau was the firstborn. Okay? Now, as Esau was coming out of the womb, Jacob grabbed his heel. And he became Jacob. Jacob is a name meaning heel grabber. It could mean people user, place taker, but not a term of endearment. Okay? And he's the second born. Being the firstborn in that culture is everything. It's everything. It makes all the difference. Now, as they grow up together, Jacob cheats his brother twice. He cheats him out of his birthright, and he cheats him out of his father's blessing. Now, after the second time that he cheated his brother Esau, Esau was so mad that he swore he was going to kill him. So, and if you kind of notice, sibling rivalries in Genesis are a big deal. But Jacob had to flee for his life, and so he is leaving the land of Canaan, going to Haran, and on his way, he spends the night at Bethel, and that's whenever he had the dream, and he saw the ladder going from earth to heaven, and the angels ascending and descending, and God standing at the top of the ladder. Now, Jacob, being Jacob, he sees the world as something he can take advantage of. He sees people as, how can I manipulate you into doing something I need you to do? What do you have that would benefit me? How can I manipulate this situation to where something that's good for you becomes good for me? I don't care if you get hurt. Now, when Jacob sees God at the top of the ladder, he makes a deal with God, which I think is just gracious on God's part to listen. But he makes a deal with God because he's like, whoa, there's God. What can I get out of this? So he says, God, I'll make a deal with you. You make me rich. Which really kind of like Abraham's grandson had to be rich, right? But he said, you make me rich, and I'll give you 10% of everything. Well, his granddaddy set that up. Abraham set up the tithe, but Abraham was given a tithe as a completely different reason. Abraham gave a tithe as a point of worship. Jacob is going to give a tithe because it's a swap deal. It's, hey, I'm going to do this for you, you do this for me. I'm going to manipulate that. And oddly enough, God goes along with it. But here we are. He makes a deal with God. He sees every person, including God, as something to be sized up and used for his own agenda. Now, Jacob continues his journey to Haran. He ends up, being with his uncle Laban, and he starts getting a dose of his own medicine because Laban's kind of like him, and they start cheating each other, right? He gets tricked. He's going to marry, was it Rachel? He was going to marry Rachel, and Laban tricked him, and there was a wedding, and when he woke up in the morning, he woke up with not Rachel, her sister. So then he had to work for 7 years to earn the right to marry Rachel. And there was all in all, it was 20 years of Jacob and Laban cheating each other. There's a whole thing of them cheating each other out of wages. It goes on and on. So 20 years have gone by, and Jacob decides it's time to get away from Laban, time to go home. But can he go? Come what may, I'm going home. So he enters the land of Canaan, and he's a day's journey away from his destination, and he spends the night in Jabbok, and when he gets there, he hears that his offended brother Esau, who he has not seen for 20 years, he hears Esau's coming for him. So Jacob takes his family, flock, herds, everything, and he splits it into two camps because he figured, hey, if Esau comes, then at least one side, half of them will be spared, right? He comes up with this plan, but then he slips off by himself. He slips off by himself, and I'm totally distracted right now. When I studied this and I read it, whenever it said he slipped off by himself, all I could see, and then Al mentioned something about it too over here, but all I could see was Hayes laying in his pasture. That's the picture I got. But if you don't know that, Hayes, anyway, it's a long story. But Hayes spends time with God laying in the pasture. That's basically it, and he gets some amazing words. So if Esau just wants to see his long-lost brother, if he's just happy to see him, why is he bringing 400 men? He got cheated out of his birthright. He got cheated out of his father's blessing. He swore he was going to kill him, and he wasn't playing. He wants to kill him. 20 years this has festered. 20 years that I just want the chance. I just want the opportunity, and he hears Jacob's coming. 400 people, he gets 400 men in his army, and off they go. Now, was he going to kill him? Yes. He was going to kill him. The Jewish rabbis teach it that way. There's no other way. I don't know any other reason why he takes 400 men with him, why the Bible is specific that says he takes 400 men with him. He was on his way to kill his brother. Now, so Jacob goes off by himself. He's all alone with his anxiety, his fear, his dread, probably a big sense of guilt because he's fixing to have to face up to something he did 20 years ago. Now, out of nowhere, he gets attacked by a man. In the night, he gets attacked by a man. Now, I'm going to take some liberties here to interpret some things, okay? I would imagine that in the middle of the night, in the dark, and you go to bed worried about your brother's coming to kill you, right? And then you get attacked. I would think that the only conclusion you could come to is that it's your brother trying to kill you. That would be your initial reaction. That he slipped through the night. He came in and snuck in, and he attacked him. But Jacob begins this wrestling match with this man, right? Now, Jacob would have known fairly quickly this is not my brother, but he don't know who it is. And the stranger never says anything. All he knows is this guy's trying to kill me. There's going to be times in there where he thinks he's winning. But then there's times where he's being overcome. But he's never overcome. It goes all the way through the night. They wrestle. And then, as they're fighting and they're struggling and they're wrestling, the long night's about to be over, the stranger in one move dislocates Jacob's hip. Just like that. I can tell you, dislocating a hip is a hard thing to do. It is. I have only dealt with one in 20 years of. I'm a physical therapist. I'm an athletic trainer. I've dealt with one, and it was a little Korean girl that was at the international ballet competition, and a buddy of mine talked me into going and volunteering to go up there and be the trainer for the night. He says, I've been doing this for years. Nobody gets hurt in ballet. No big deal. He just couldn't go. And so as a favor to him, he said, you're going to have to stretch some people maybe. You have to get some ice. That's it. Don't worry about it. I go, second dancer out, I hear her screaming. And it's totally black. They shut the lights, right? It's at Valley Amara Hall. They hand me a flashlight and say, she's there. I shine the light. Well, I think they've dropped the curtain. They have not. So whenever I go, I shine the flashlight, and I do the flashlight that way. There's just people sitting in tuxes. And I go, and this girl's screaming bloody murder, and there's silence. Nobody's saying anything, right? She's speaking Korean that I don't know. And the interpreter ends up coming up there, and I'm trying to explain to her, which I couldn't. I still was in shock that I knew the only place where she was hurting and what was happening. The only logical thing was her hip was out of place, and I could not fathom that had happened, because calling the ambulance is the only thing you can do. You're not supposed to move them because you assume that if they did something that traumatic, the first time anybody dislocates anything, you have to assume it's fractured, and so you have to handle it as such. Well, I can't immobilize her hip, but I've got these people, and they're like constantly in my ear. We got to hurry up. We got to get her off the stage. The show must go on. All this stuff, right? And I just get, and I got frustrated. And I mean, and it was, I didn't hurt her, but it was a mistake. But I got tired of them in my ear, and I just picked her up. She weighed 80 pounds soaking wet. I mean, I picked her up, carried her to the back. Anyway, I'm sure that I don't know if y'all know that, but the International Ballet Competition comes here, which is crazy to me. It's like their Super Bowl, or not even that. It's like their Olympics. It's insane. No, I'm serious. This is a serious thing. There are dancers in there that are making $200,000-300,000 a year. Being dancers, it is a serious thing, these are athletes, and it is amazing, but they do things to their body to make them that good that's probably not good. I'm sure that ended her career. My thing is that my point is that she dislocated her hip. She jumped up in the air, did a kick, and her hip dislocated. Now, I've seen people in car wrecks. I've seen people, I've been working football games for 20 years. I've never seen anybody dislocate their hip except her. I can tell you dislocating a hip is a hard thing to do. It would be especially hard for a man to be in a fight with another man and dislocate his hip. But this happens. And Jacob immediately knows, because I'm sure that when you feel that kind of force, whenever you experience that, and you know that came by a man's hands, you understand he could have killed me at any point he wanted to tonight. He's blinded with pain. But the stranger dislocates his hip, and he says, the stranger finally speaks, and he says, the dawn is breaking, let me go. And then Jacob does something strange. All night long he's been trying to get away from this guy, right? I just don't want him to kill me. I just want to get away. All night long he's been trying to get away from him, and the stranger dislocates his hip, and somehow or another Jacob, he sees it's God. And he says, I won't let you go until you bless me. All night long trying to get away. But he felt that power, he felt that force, and he saw something. Just his intuition. There was something, I don't know what told him, but something told him, and he held on, and he said, I will not let go until you bless me. Now, so finally the man says, what is your name? And he says, my name is Jacob. The meaning of the name itself carried shame. And I'm sure that when you're in the presence of God and you have to admit, I am Jacob. I am heel grabber. I am user of people. I am place taker. I'm sure that that was not something that he was proud of. I'm sure he didn't say it with a sense of pride. And I don't know if you've ever been there where you just reach a point that you see who you really are and you don't like it. And you don't like what you've become. And the stranger said, no longer is your name Jacob. From now on, your name will be Israel. For you have struggled with men and with God, and you have prevailed. And Jacob says, what is your name? And the stranger's like, why do you need to ask my name? And he blessed him there, and the stranger goes away. So Jacob calls the place Peniel, which he says, for I have seen God face to face. Now, Jacob wrestled with more than a man. He wrestled with more than his identity. He wrestled with God, and somehow Jacob had prevailed, but with a cost. Because now he has a limp. He's been broken. And he has a limp. And the sun rose, and Jacob goes out of Peniel limping. Now, so Jacob leaves the place, okay? And this is what I'll call it. I'll call it the dark hole of self. Jacob walks away from the dark hole of self, limping. He is walking toward light, but he's not walking, he's limping. He is limping toward light. He's gotten himself away from the point where he is the center of the universe. He's moving away. He has seen the face of God. He has seen the face of love, of light, and of grace. And he's limping. As he limps away from the brook, he picks his eyes up and he sees Esau and 400 men with him. Now, Esau's waited 20 years to get even. He's got his chance. He's not going to miss it. And he sees his brother limping. So, is it when Esau sees his brother limping that he has a change of heart? I think so. I think Esau was going down there to take his revenge, and he sees his brother's wounded. He sees his brother's hurt, and then something so beautiful happens. We're told that when he sees his brother limping towards him, Esau runs to Jacob. And he embraced him, and they wept. If you read it, it's almost a prequel to the prodigal son. It's not a father-son, it's a brother-brother, but it's almost a prequel to it. But he saw him, and they wept. Now, it says, 33 verse 4, it says, but Esau ran to him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. Now, he sees his brother limping, and he lets go of all of his bitterness. He runs to him, and he kisses him and weeps. Then Jacob says a really remarkable thing to his brother Esau. Now, in verse 10 of chapter 33, it says, and Jacob said, I have now found favor in your sight. Receive my present from my hand, inasmuch as I have seen your face, as though I had seen the face of God. That morning, he saw the face of God. He named the place Peniel, the face of God. He saw the face of God. A few hours later, his brother shows him mercy. And he says, when I saw your face, it was like seeing the face of God. Who can you be the face of God to today? Who is it that does not deserve your mercy? Who is it that does not deserve your grace? Who is it that does not deserve your forgiveness that you would show the face of God to? Somebody. There's somebody. Don't deserve it. Got nothing to do with it. We don't deserve Jesus. We got him. Now, two brothers, one cheating the other, another threatening to kill the other, filled with hate. I suspect that Jacob at this point, after wrestling with God all night, after being shown this mercy from his brother, I would imagine that Jacob, okay, and just for the record, we never again see Jacob use a person. I would imagine that he found a way to see God in the face of everyone he met. It says that even he went before the Pharaoh, and he didn't even try to manipulate the Pharaoh into giving him anything. He just blessed him. He never again tried to swindle anybody. Now, people that do bad things, I am not naive, okay? I understand there are people that do bad things. The worst person in the world is nothing more than a distorted image of God. Nothing worse than a distorted image of God. Everyone is made in the image of God. Everyone. Somebody doing bad things is a distorted image of God. But they carry the image of God. We have to learn to see that in people. We have to learn to see it. We have to learn to see it, to see through everything, all of the junk. We have to learn to see it. We have to learn to see it. If you know, and Jesus was very specific. This is all. If you only love those who love you, big deal. And in fact, if you only love those who love you, you're still in self. Because that don't take anything. That just means I'm getting something out of the relationship. If you only love those who love you, there's nothing, there's nothing that brings ministry like that. Who don't like, I like the people who like me. That's not hard. But the biblical test for do you love your neighbor is the biblical test for do you love God is do you love your neighbor. The biblical test for do you love your neighbor is do you love your enemy. If I talk about great evil, okay, like something massive, you understand that great evil, it hides itself, it masquerades itself behind something good. You see, to the people that are doing it, they think they're doing something good. If you watch Batman, the Joker knows he's a bad guy, right? He knows it. He don't try to hide it. He's a bad guy. We like the story that way. He knows he's a bad guy. He likes being a bad guy. But you understand that bad guys in real life don't think they're bad guys. They just think the other side is. It depends on where you're standing as to who the bad guy is. But evil will masquerade itself behind something good. See, the person thinks they're doing something good. Nazis thought they were doing the world a favor by ridding the world of menacing Jews. They thought they were doing something good in their heart. They thought they were doing something good. They would have thought they're doing the world a favor, right? Now, you can get on a dangerous path real fast if you start classifying people as evil. If you throw a group of people, if you throw a person, if you throw anybody out and you just think they are evil, you're on a dangerous path because you just became the accuser. The accuser is Satan. And who is Satan in this scenario? Who's accusing who? If you stand in accusation, You said, now I'm not saying, listen, I'm not naive. I'm not saying that you have to change your stance on anything. I'm not saying that you have to, that you have to, somehow back down on the things you believe. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you look at the image of God and say, you are evil, you're on a dangerous road. You're looking at a person that is the image of God. And you understand that God can turn anybody. God can turn anybody's heart. Their hearts just turn the wrong way. So if I said a name to you, who is that name that's in your life that you are repulsed by? Who is it that makes your blood pressure go up? Who is it at work tomorrow that you dread seeing? Who is it? Who is it that you dread seeing at home? Who is it that you is it your spouse? Is it an ex-spouse? Is it your boss? Is it your sister, your brother, your cousin? Who is it? Is it somebody here in the church? Who is it? Who is it? Are you able to see the face? Are you able to see the image of God when you look at them? Are you able to see them in the light of love? Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. That story of Jacob and Esau has two people in it, right? There's two people participating. We get to see both of their hearts change at the same time. It's miraculous, okay? That is miraculous. Somebody has to be the first. And what I'm going to tell you is, if you've been done wrong, that story, you're Esau. And what you have to be able to do is you have to be able to look at somebody that's taken advantage of you. You have to be able to look at somebody that has taken, maybe they've taken your love and trampled it. Maybe they've taken your money. I don't know. But you have to be able to see that person limping. You have to be able to see that person the way God, and are we brave enough to sit quietly and ask Jesus, how do you see them? I hope that if you're having to sit somewhere and ask, hey, what do you think about Bill? I hope he tells you good stuff, right? He tells me good stuff about me. But are you able to sit quietly with Jesus and let him tell you how he feels about somebody that you have deep animosity for? Now, can you get beyond what is right and what is wrong? Can you get to a place where you love your enemy? Again, I'm not talking about agreeing with your enemy or changing your position. I'm talking about, can you come to the place where you love your enemy? You could be absolutely 100% correct in your politics and your theology, but you could still be part of the problem. John says that if we claim to love God, who we have not seen, and hate our brother, who we have seen, then the truth is not in us. Now, in the story, there's two people. And as I was sitting, we were worshiping, I saw these keys, and I thought, gosh, do you know that you have the keys to somebody's life? If you have to extend forgiveness to somebody, you understand you have a key. You understand that they understand that they messed you. They understand that they messed you over. They understand that they were wrong. Now, are they going to admit it? No. Forget it. But in their heart, they know. But pride will get in the way of that. Can you take the key to them and say, hey, it's not my key anymore. If you want to stay bound up, it's on you. But I release you. Do you have the key to yourself? Because a lot of times my problem is not that other people are mad at me. My problem is that I lock myself up. And I got the key in my pocket the whole time. But you understand that Jacob saw the face of God literally, and just hours later, he saw forgiveness on his brother's face, and he saw the face of God again. To the point that he said, when I looked at your face, it was like seeing the face of God. I would think that there would be a big difference between looking at Esau and looking at the face of God. But you know what? What we learn is the face of God looks like forgiveness. The face of God looks like grace. The face of God looks like somebody that does not deserve to be forgiven, but you forgive them anyway. That's what the face of God looks like. Now, can you be the face of God to that person today? You're gonna have to be brave. You have to take a chance that maybe they don't appreciate. Maybe they don't even know they did you wrong. Maybe they don't realize it. Maybe they don't realize how bad it hurts you. Maybe not. But there's healing needs to take place. And what I'm going to tell you is this. You have two lives bound up. You have your life and their life bound. And you could set both free. We have amazing ways of getting in touch with each other now. We don't go anywhere without our cell phones. Our kids can't understand that we used to drive in cars, and if you had to use a phone, you had to stop at somebody's house, or you had to go to a payphone, which they still have no concept of, that you had to put money in a machine to make a phone call. You have a cell phone. You can text, you can email, you can call. Better yet, you could go by their house. You could go see somebody, but don't act like you don't have a way of getting in touch with somebody. Because you do. You can don't come up with excuses. And what I'm asking you today is I'm going to challenge you with it. There's no way I can test you on it, but I challenge you to do it today. I know. Sometimes I don't know what I'm supposed to preach. And I get up here and it works out. I know today. And I don't know if it's for one person. I don't know if it's for a lot of people. But I was sitting up there and I told my wife, I said, my goal is to not cry today. And I said, I said, I can't even sit here. You know how Dan and them get up here and they say that they feel like, hey, I got a pain in my neck. Who is that? I have a pain in my heart. And it's somebody here. I'm telling you, it's time. Why waste one more day? Why waste another day when you could make it right now? Why waste it? Why waste it? Do you feel foolish? I don't know. Maybe so, but my goodness, is it worth carrying this? Is it worth your how much of your thought process during the day is taken up with this? I mean, look, we're not here but just a little while. In the grand scheme of things, we're not here but just God says it's like the blink of his eye. I challenge you today, release that person. I challenge you today, let them know. And let them know that you love them. With their junk, with everything, you love them. And if they need somebody, they can come to you and they look at you. And maybe when they look at you, they see the face of God. Now, you need to make it right today. We're going to have people up here that will pray with you, okay? Because sometimes we need strength, and there's strength. Listen, it says when two or more people agree, then it is done. And listen, if you need to come up for prayer for anything, if you've got a physical problem, if you have an emotional problem, if you have anything that you want prayer for, maybe it's for somebody else, then come up here and get prayer. Don't miss out on the chance of that. But if you need strength, then get strength. Come up here and we'll pray and agree with you for you to get strength. But don't miss this moment. If this is you and your heart's pounding right now, and you know that I'm talking to you, take your phone and don't leave that parking lot until you call. Start the process. Leave a message. Do something, but don't miss this moment. Don't miss this moment. You have big things ahead of you, and you're being held back by something silly. Okay? Ministry team, just some people come up, please. Now, I'm gonna pray, and then I'm gonna pray. And if you need prayer, come up. If you need prayer, come up. If you have kids over in the nursery, you need to go get them. Okay, and you can bring them back, but just go get them, and so our workers can be released. But walk out of here knowing you're forgiven, you're loved, and you need to give that to somebody else. Lord, I thank you, Lord, for this. For this, Lord, I just thank you for your mercy and your grace, Lord. I thank you for the opportunity to show other people that, Lord, to show other people your light, Lord. And I just thank you for the strength that you are giving right now, for the encouragement that you are giving right now, Lord. And I thank you that wherever these people are that are going to be called, Lord, that you are preparing their hearts and that you've already plowed the ground and you're ready. They are ready for the seed that's about to be planted, Lord. Lord, I just thank you for this just amazing day that you have given, Lord. And Lord, I thank you for that you have given us another minute to get this right. That you've given us another chance, Lord. And I just thank you, Lord, for the reconciliation that's going to happen today in families. Lord, I thank you for the reconciliation that's going to happen across, Lord, and for the healing that you will bring. In the name of Jesus, amen. If you need prayer,